Okay, so today we're going to be solving inequalities in one variable. Please make sure that you write down these notes. We're going to be using less than, greater than, okay? Both of those mean that you have an open circle. It's not shaded inside, okay? And then it tells you which way to shade. So if it's less than, you're going to the left. And if it's greater than, you're going to the right. So kind of like the inequality sign. If you have less than or equal to, it's going to be shaded. Okay, so the circle is going to include that number. It's going to equal that number. And the other symbol is greater than or equal to. Okay, and again, it equals to that number, so make sure that you pick the one that has the shaded dot. And then the same thing, if it's less than or equal to, it's going to be shaded to the left. And if it's greater than or equal to, it's going to be shaded to the right. All right, make sure that you have these notes in your notebook. You're going to be using them a lot today. All right, let's do some examples now. Example number 1, it tells you to solve and graph the solution. Okay, so I'm going to treat this like an equal sign still. So I'm going to draw my line. Why is this not working? Okay, we drew our line. It's just like an equal sign. And we're going to do all of our steps. So step number 1, distribute. So make sure that you write that down. We're going to distribute the -4 times the 3x and the -4 times the -1. So -4 times 3x is a -12x. -4 times -1 is a +4. If you didn't know those answers, you can use decimals. Okay, everything else comes down, so plus 6x greater than or equal to 16. Step number 2, combine like terms. So on the left side, these two things look alike, so I can combine those two. -12 plus 6 is a -6x. So -12 plus 6 gives you a -6. That's how I got that answer. Everything else comes down, so I still have plus 4 greater than or equal to 16. Step number 3, move the smallest variable. Move smallest variable. Well, there's no variable on the other side, so I don't need to do that step. There's only one variable right here, the -6x. Step number 4 is do. What do you see happening with the x? The x is being multiplied by a -6, and they added 4. So the opposite is to subtract 4 from both sides. So I got to get rid of that. -4 minus 4 16 minus 4 is 12. Bring down the sign. Bring down the 6x. And the last step is to divide by a negative 6. Divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6, so that the negative 6 cancels. When that happens, that is very important. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality sign right here is going to flip. The inequality sign is going to flip. You will flip the inequality sign anytime there is multiplying or dividing by a negative number. Only by a negative number. So because I divided both sides by negative 6, I needed to flip my inequality sign. So that gives me x less than or equal to, and then over here we put 12 divided by negative 6. That gives me a negative 2. Okay, so again, when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must, it's a must, flip the inequality sign. Okay, let's practice one more. Draw the line. So make sure you're copying this down. First step is to distribute. So I'm going to distribute the negative 3 times 2x, negative 3 times 2. So negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. This one has an x, this one has an x. Negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. Bring down the symbol, bring down the 10. Step number 2 is combine like terms. There's nothing to combine on the left side or on the right side. Step number 3, move the smallest variable. There's only one variable, so I don't need to move it either. And then the last step is see do. So what do you see happening with the x? Is being multiplied by a negative 6. And they subtracted 6. So I'm going to start from the bottom up. The first thing I'm going to do is add 6 to both sides. So I can get rid of that one, the minus 6. So that's going to be plus 6 on both sides. 10 plus 6 is 16. Bring down the sign and bring down the negative 6x. The next step is to divide by a negative 6. So what did we say earlier? If you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number, which we are, we're dividing by a negative, we need to flip the inequality symbol. Flip it. Flip the sign. Okay? Because I'm dividing by a negative 6. So the negatives cancel. That gives me x is greater than, and then I type in Desmos, where my mouse go? There it is. 16 divided by a negative 6, and hit the fraction button. it gives me a negative 8 over 3. Okay. Go ahead and write down this one. Step number 1, distribute. Nothing to distribute. Step number 2, combine like terms. Nothing to combine. Step number 3, move the smallest variable. The smallest variable right here is this one. So we're going to subtract 1.5x from both sides. If I'm going too fast, make sure that you pause the video. So 3.5x minus 1.5x gives me 2x. Bring everything else down, plus 19. Bring down the symbol, and bring down the negative 7. And then we're going to do C do. What is happening with my x is being multiplied by 2, and they added 19. So the first step is to subtract 19 from both sides so that it can cancel. If I type it over here, that's negative 7 minus 19 gives me a negative 26. Bring down the symbol and bring down the 2x. The last step is to divide by 2. Am I dividing by a negative? No, I'm not dividing by a negative, I'm dividing by a positive. So do I have to flip this sign? No, I do not have to flip the sign. Okay, it's going to stay just like that. So divide by 2, divide by 2. Even though this one is negative, the negative 26, I'm not dividing by it. Okay, only if you are dividing by a negative, which we are not. The 2 cancels, that gives me x greater than or equal to, we put that in decimals, negative 26 divided by 2 gives me a negative 13. Okay. So that means, and it also tells me to graph the solution. So I know I'm going to start at 13. Okay. And it's going to have a closed circle because it equals to it, closed circle. And it says, oops, go back. And it says greater than or equal to, so I'm shading to the greater numbers. Okay.